Hello everybody and welcome to abluefj. My name's Ian and I am super excited for this video, not only because it's my very first video on YouTube, but also we have a super cool product to take a look at and I just think it's going to be an awesome kickoff. So today we are looking at the G13 head unit from Dasaita. It is a 12.3 inch head unit. Got a ton of cool features. It's a great blend of nostalgia by keeping those HVAC controls, the ones that come with your FJ OEM, but also gives you that high-tech screen that's gonna totally transform your FJ. As I said, am super excited for this video, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, everybody. Hope you liked that little video of the head unit in action, me taking a drive, getting some views, seeing how I use it every day, even if it's just a little part of it. Obviously, I'm using Android Auto, so depending on whether you use its factory software or you're a big fan of Apple Carplay, Android Auto, that experience might be a little different for you. But just some quick highlights on what this device does, or what this head unit does. At the end of the video or after we do the install, there is going to be a more deeper dive into its features, not only what I use every day, again, fairly simple, that Android Auto, but also some of the stuff that you're going to see if you use that factory software, which I am telling you can do pretty much everything. Particularly if you throw a SIM card in there. Again, we'll talk about that a little later. This thing, incredible. I've used quite a few different head units on my FJ, both some of those typical brands that you'll see, at a Best Buy or at Crutchfield, whatever it may be. Pioneer, JVC, Sony, Kenwood. Nothing against any of those head units. Those are classic. They're going to give you a very reliable, typical, well-known experience, one that you can hop right into and recognize. And some of them even have some of those high-tech features like Android Auto, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. But this is a different experience, not only because of the large screen, but also kind of that upgrade that it gives to your FJ. No need to buy a brand new Tundra, brand new Tacoma, brand new 4Runner to get those features. You can get them in your FJ today, and this is a great option for that. I think it does all of those things better, and the performance of it, the quality of it is a lot higher than some of the other ones that I've used. I'm not here to bash any other brands. I've had some great experiences with some of those brands, but this takes it to another level. This video is we're gonna go through quite a few different things. The big part of the video is gonna be the install. I tried to keep the install, time sensitive, not because I think that that portion of the video is unimportant, but I want to make sure that you guys can watch it while both getting a good look at that install process, particularly the critical steps, because while I thought it was fairly easy to install, there are some pieces there that are going to be very important, and I wanted to make sure to call those out. One of the more quote-unquote difficult portions of this video, or of the install, is swapping out the HVAC controls. I wouldn't say it's overly difficult, but when it comes to the install as a whole, it is the most complex portion of it. So that's going to be the part that I think you should look at in the most detail, because you definitely don't want to mess that up. And there's some small parts of it that, if you don't do it right, some of your controls like hazards, rear defroster, looking at your security light, some of those things aren't going to work. It won't break it, but then you're going to have to take the whole thing off and fix those. So it's very important that you watch that video in detail and then do everything properly. The video will have chapters. I'm gonna try to split up the install to those different parts, whether it be putting the new radio in, swapping out those HVAC controls, talking about the wiring that you have. Those are going to be hopefully split up into chapters. I'm going to try to do that as best as I can, so that if you're having difficulty with a specific portion of it, you can go ahead and skip right to that, watch it, and not have to go, scrub through the entire install portion. And then there's going to be two pieces after the install. Obviously, as I said, talking about the features, but then also I am waiting a little bit to publish this video because I'm going to be doing a 30-day impression to kind of look at, hey, after a month, how am I feeling about this radio? What are some of the maybe issues with it that I encounter, but what are then some of my favorite portions? Now, this intro I did reshoot, so you're going to see me in the same outfit. Don't worry. That is after actually a little bit more than a month. After a month of consistent use, obviously this is my daily car. I drive it every day. So you're going to get to, get a good idea of how it performs. There are some things to look out for. As I said, I'm going to be shooting that portion right after this, because I went and reshot this intro because I wanted to talk about some things differently, particularly after using it, and after sitting down and rewatching that install to make sure that I called out, hey, these are the critical things to look at. So don't panic, I'm not faking it. Got the same outfit on, but I have used this for a little while. I want to thank Dasaita. They helped a ton throughout this video, giving me some feedback on the install, making sure that if I needed to go and reshoot to call something out better, that I did so. So a huge thanks to them. Their customer service is amazing. I had to get some help with something. One of the things that I really want to call out, and I'll make sure to call this out at the end as well, is that there is a software upgrade that you need to do if you have the JBL audio in your car. There's a little bit of static. It's not due to any issues with the canvas or the radio itself, but you got to make sure that you apply that update. I'm going to have that link and the instructions for that down in the video description. One thing I also want to call out, this was not a paid review. I don't really do paid reviews. Again, it's my first video, but I've done some reviews on some other platforms. Not a paid review. I do not let compensation influence my videos. I bought this with my own money using a sale and a discount code from someone else in the community. Now, Dasaita was nice enough to give me a discount code. That all of those will be down in the description. It's going to be a discount code for either their website or Amazon. So whichever site you choose to purchase it on, you can do so with that discount. That actually stacks on top of sales. So they run a lot of sales, which is awesome. You can still use the discount code and get an extra 5% off. One thing I will call out, while I wasn't paid for this review, I do earn a little bit of compensation for any sales made. So make sure if you're going to purchase this, use the link, use the code. Not that I'm really making any big profit on any of the videos that I make outside of YouTube reimbursement revenue, whatever you want to call it. But that money that I get from it always goes directly into is going to go directly into buying new stuff that you can use to upgrade your FJ experience. I'm going to be moving into a new house here shortly that's going to make it easier for me to do some appearance cosmetic mods on the outside. I'm in an apartment right now, so it's not overly ideal for me to be shooting videos of the outside of the car. I don't want to go to some random parking lot and do so, but all of that money will contribute to that. I do have another video coming up that's going to be talking about an accessory for the CompuStar remote start that I use on it. It's that proximity unlock. That's one of my favorite features about newer cars, and I actually kind of downgraded year-wise from a Nissan Sentra that did have it. I guess it was more of the buttons on the doors versus a proximity unlock, but I think that's an awesome feature, and I'm going to try that out as well. That video will hopefully be up in about a week or so. That one completely unrelated to the CompuStar. Didn't work with them at all on that, but I purchased that and I've been lollygagging on installing it. So let's go ahead and hop into the install portion of it. I know I've been talking a lot here, and then once we get through that, we'll talk a little bit more about the radio itself and its features. Let's move and do that. All right, so looking in the box, we got a couple different things, but just starting with the packaging so you guys can know what to expect when it arrives. Beautiful packaging, unlike a lot of other brands, that just come in a very basic brown box. You have something that shows you what's in it, model number, all that stuff, just a quick glance. Hey, did I get the right stuff? Moving into the packaging, the first things we're going to look at are the two bags that have all of the different wires you need. On the right, you have all your different accessories hooking up, it has your microphone in there, your GPS antenna, your LTE antenna, SIM card holder, bunch of other stuff. Not going to go through every single thing. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the install portion. Finally, you have the radio itself. Makes it so clear how good this looks. Also, just looking at it makes it obvious that you use your existing HVAC controls. Overall, great packaging, has everything you need. Even comes with some small accessories like zip ties, some trim tools. You might not need all of it, but it is really nice that they include it all. So 10 out of 10 on the packaging. All right, so once we've got the old radio out, we're going to start looking at wiring up the new radio. As we looked at in the unboxing portion of the video, there's quite a few different wires that comes with it in two of these baggies here. Now, you don't need all of them. It depends on, what features your car may have, what you're wanting to retain, those kind of things. I'm only going to talk about the ones that I need, the ones that I'm wanting to retain, which is quite a bit less than what comes in it. There is a really, really great wiring diagram and an explanation of the different accessories that are in there if you want to take a look at that and look at, hey, what are some of the options I have? So I'm going to go through what I'm going to use. The first one we're going to look at is obviously the primary wiring harness. Now, again, there's a lot of stuff on here. You're not going to need all of it. Some of these are looking at, auxiliary in, camera in. If you want to do the brake lines, I'm not going to do that. If you have a specific type of subwoofer, usually an aftermarket subwoofer, you're going to need this guy here. All I'm going to need, though, are these two cords here, which connect to this one and this one, my two primary radio cables. And then this is what goes into the back of the new radio. Now, you will see here you have the canvas, which is important if you have the JBL upgrade. There is another version of this that comes in the packaging which doesn't have this. So if you don't have the JBL audio upgrade, you are going to want to use that one. I have it, so I'm going to want to make sure I use that. We'll set that to the side real quick. I'm going to use this dual USB. During this, I'm also going to put in two of the USB. I'm trying to look for them so I can show you what they look like. But I've got these two USB outlets that plug in here. I'm going to go ahead and throw them in while I'm doing all this. I'm thinking might as well. This is what they look like here. So they just go right in there, and then they go and they plug into these here. So I'm going to do that while I'm in here. Obviously, not required. Your radio will function without those USB, but nice to have, whatever. We'll set things over here to the side as we go through. So we're gonna be using this, which is the mic adapter. I already have a mic plugged in. It will work with most mics, so I don't need to do, you know, any wiring up to my steering, whatever you want to call it, my steering area, because I've got mine mounted up over here for ease of use. So this goes in, and that just plugs in, you know, a little auxiliary port there. So I'm gonna need to make sure to use that. We've got, this is a single USB, not going to use this, not sure why I even brought that out, but that is the the single version of this dual option here. Again, I'm going to use the dual so I can power both of my USB ports. We have got, this is a SIM card slot. If you open it up, which I believe it just slides open, maybe I'm doing that wrong. I'm not going to put the SIM card in today, but I do want to do that at some point. Oh, actually this one you don't need to, I'm used to my old one where you had to slide it open. SIM card goes right in there. I'm not going to get a SIM card for it today, so I got to find a way to put it so that I don't have to pull my entire radio back out. I might find a way to run it down to the right there, but I'm going to make sure I have it plugged in so that when I do go to do so, I can. We have two antennas, and sorry for the crinkliness, this is going to be a little annoying on the audio. So first we have, this is one of our two antennas. One of these are, both of them are technically going to be for GPS, but different types. You want to make sure that you put both of them in. This is one of them, and then this is the other one. Again, sorry for the crinkling on audio. If it'll even let me get this open. There we go. So this is the other one here, a little smaller, but you're going to want to make sure that you put both of these in. Both of them are technically just these little like coax cables here, but they go in differently. On the back of the radio, I'll kind of walk through where everything goes in to make it easy. And then this is a Wi-Fi antenna, same, it's a little coax screw in, but I want to make sure I have it for Apple CarPlay, or well, Android Auto in my case. But also when I put that SIM card in, I'll be able to broadcast a Wi-Fi signal that I can use on my devices. I'm intending to get a different carrier for it than my regular phone. So let's say, hey, you know, I'm in an area where I might not have service on AT&T. Maybe Verizon does, or T-Mobile, or whoever it may be. I still got to decide who I want to go with, but that's what we're going to do. I'm going to pause real quick. I'm going to get some of those cables plugged in here, get it kind of tidied up, because if I do all of that on video, this will be a 2-hour long video. I want to make sure it's neat for when I put it in there so I don't have to mess with it again. So we're going to cut real quick. I'm going to get that all done, and then I will be back with you guys shortly. All right, everybody, so now that we have taken the faceplate of the radio off, gotten our old DIN, double DIN, or OEM radio out, we have to actually transfer the AC controls from the original faceplate, this here, over to the new radio. Now I brought us inside for this because it's a little bit hard to show this process in the car, and as I said, I wanted to make sure that everybody got a good look at how exactly this happens. I consider this probably the most difficult part of the process. Not that it's like super hard, but it's good to be able to get a good look at what happens. So we're essentially going to be taking this entire assembly here off of this faceplate and moving it right over here. So we're going to start with this guy on the left here. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Put that in a safe spot. We don't want to break that lovely 12-inch screen. So where we're going to start, so we have 4 screws here. You can see them, they're these little Phillips head screws. They're just 1, 2, 3, and then there's one down in the hole there. So we're going to go ahead and remove those guys. As I said, just Phillips, so any old Phillips head screwdriver will work. Now this thing likes to slide around a bit. I probably should have like a mat or something to make it easier. But I've done this a couple times, full transparency. I had to redo part of the install, not to any fault of Dasaita, entirely my mistake. I did something wrong, I didn't follow the directions. That's on me, not them. Obviously, as I said, you know, I wanted this to be kind of a, you know, full installation experience, and it was my first time, you know, as well as, you know, maybe one of yours. So I wanted to make sure if I needed to redo something, I would. So this black cover here slips off. Sometimes this will come out with it. So this is one of the control boards you have on there. As you can see, there's a little ribbon cable. So we're gonna pull this ribbon cable out. As I said a couple times, be careful with these ribbon cables. We definitely do not want them to break. That would be bad. So we've got this guy out. We're gonna set it aside. Next up, and this is what I would say the more annoying part of this assembly is, so rather than this being held in by more screws, this is held in by a couple clips. So we're gonna go ahead and pop those out. You can use a little Phillips head. You can use your finger, or sorry, flathead. You can use your fingers, but it's a little annoying. So there are 3 up top, 3 on the bottom, and that's for this cover here. So what you want to do is you want to get your flathead in between those, and you're going to want to pull this up as you go, because it doesn't like to just release on its own. You can start with either the top or the bottom. As I said, I've had to do this once or twice. When you get the bottom ones off, the top ones get a little pinched, and it makes them a little difficult to get off. So I think you're better off just starting with the top ones. Now, you get a little bit of the same issue where they just don't want to come up on the bottom because you've already got it at an angle. You don't really have much choice. It's just kind of the way that this is constructed. And you don't want to put it in the middle of this clip because there's this little plastic tab that has to go up, and as you can see, I'm struggling a little bit here. It's not the easiest thing to do, that is for sure. So I'm gonna try to use my finger here to get this guy up, because this is not fun. I think I actually am gonna start at the bottom. I've had more luck that way. I was trying to beat the system, but doesn't look like that's happening today. Man, this one is it was not this difficult the first time around when I had to take this off. It might be this type of screwdriver I'm using now, because it's got a larger shaft. So you just gotta and I'm trying not to break these in case I ever need to reuse the OEM faceplate. So okay, cool. So I got this one up. And you want to be careful because they like to snap back in just like it just did. Let me rotate this. Let me see if I can make this a bit easier. But this is, as I said, I would say this is the most unfun part of the install. You're probably better off using like a standard Phillips head. So I think I'm gonna go grab one of those. So give me just a second. I think that'll make this portion a little easier, and we'll go from there. All right, cool. So I got everything wired up. As you can see, it's about as neat as I can make it. Kind of zip tied a lot of this so that I don't have just a bunch of stuff hanging around. I got these ready, got all of the accessories I'm going to be plugging in ready. You probably can't see it, but I've got the antennas. They are 3M taped to the back wall here. I'm hoping that won't be an issue because I think like the defroster runs through there, but I don't really foresee it being an issue. Now, Dasaita makes it fairly easy. As you can see here, there's a bunch of different ports. Now, on the documentation they give you, there's a whole guide of what goes where. I'm not going to drain it too much because, again, that'll make the video super long. But everything plugs into those different slots here, and this is the primary power. Got that little Wi-Fi antenna in. Again, that's what sends out the Wi-Fi signal if you have a SIM card in there. And then one of those antennas, I was like, what does this go to again? One of those is the 4G antenna, and then one is the GLONASS, GPS, whatever you want to call it. Now, I was kind of messing around with this, and this part of the install, I would say, is definitely where it gets the most difficult, just because you kind of have to finagle everything in here and get everything plugged in. Not that the actual plugging in of the items is difficult by any means, but you got to hold it up while you're doing it. It's a whole thing. So I'm gonna go ahead, start getting everything plugged in. And again, make sure that you consult that wiring guide. You don't want to, try to shove something in the wrong port and damage something. That is definitely not what you want to do with your brand new radio. So yep, I got that in the right one there. I got to get my USB in right here. Where's the rest of my stuff? I'm missing stuff. We're going to make sure we get that GPS antenna in, and I should probably make sure that's facing the right way. Now, I will say this is made a little bit difficult just simply by the two shifters that are here, and there's my something fallen. Where is my, I'm missing my other antenna. Oh, here it is. All right, so let's get this. I'm gonna run this up over here. I got enough room on this? Yeah, we should be fine. Again, that's just like a little mini coax cable, so that just goes in there, and then you tighten it. If I can get it to go in there properly. This is the downside of not having two hands to do these things, because you have to hold the radio while you're putting it in. We'll go ahead and get the main radio power in, and yep, that faces down, I believe. Am I facing that the right way? Yeah, that faces down. Let's see here. Gotta figure out a way to get this in. I gotta see this. Hold on. Oh, no, it faces up. So the clip on the main radio power faces up. I was trying to put it in upside down. We'll get our HVAC controls plugged in. Woo! This is not the comfiest way to do this. All right, so then we're gonna wanna make sure everything's tucked in. You know, we don't want anything sitting out, keeping us from actually getting the radio in there. I think everything is in a good spot. Let me take a look over here. We're looking pretty good. Let me tuck this microphone cord back there a little more. And then all you do, you just shove it all in there. And again, I did a little bit of pre-work, getting everything kind of tidied up, so it made it a little bit easier on me. But then once we have gotten all of that done, this is what we've got. Nice, clean, big radio screen. So now we need to get all of the screws back in, get everything back where it needs to be. Let me find my screwdriver. So one of the big differences, I would say, between this and a lot of other OEM radios is this does not use the regular 10mm bolts that you use that actually connect the DIN or double DIN radio. It doesn't use any of those to hold it in, which I would say is a little unusual and maybe spooked me a little bit at first, but clearly it's all being held in here super well. It just uses these two screws on this side and then the clips that the faceplate uses to hold it in. And then obviously, you know, you have these guys that go over it. We'll put those on in a second. Let me get my temperature gauges back on. Got to make sure I've got these in the right place. These are always fun to, when these actually accidentally come off. These are always fun to figure out where they go. Okay, cool. So we got that one. I know the far left one has a unique pattern in there. Maybe? Does it? Am I just losing my mind? This one. So the easiest way to do this is to get it all the way over to the left, in my opinion, and then that just makes it easy, so you don't have to worry about, oh, do I have this in the right spot, you know, so on and so forth. You can actually already see my security button being lit up, which shows that it is receiving power. I know I said at the beginning you want to make sure that you unplug the battery. I did not, so do as I say, not as I do. Radios, as long as the car isn't on, you know, you have a much lower chance of damaging anything, but that doesn't mean you don't want to be safe. So simply don't do what I did. Unplug your battery, and then you will not have to worry about anything at all. So once all of that is back in there, let me get these out of here. There. All you're gonna do next is put these two screws back in down here. Now, you gotta be really careful about these because they like to slip, and I've actually got a scratch down here from when I was taking them off another time because the screwdriver slipped and then it scratched up my trim, whatever you want to call it, the plastic. Not fun, not recommended. All right, so we got all that back in, and now we're just going to go ahead, and I probably should have done this before I buttoned everything back up. I like to make that mistake. We're just going to go ahead and turn the battery power on and make sure that we get power to the radio. Usually these Android ones take just a second to boot up the first time, and there it is. So we are working. Everything looks like it's functioning. Yep, air control or air con's working. Hazards are working. Our rear defroster is working. Everything seems like it's playing nice. So what I'm going to do now, I am going to cut one more time. I'm going to get everything cleaned up, and then we will come back, or we'll be back to talk about, you know, the features, looking at the radio for the first time, all those things. Kind of get a good quick little first look, but I want to tidy everything up first, and we will be right back with you guys. All right, everybody, I appreciate you sitting through all the steps of this video. Again, it is going to be split into chapters so that if you only want to look at one thing, you can, and you don't have to listen to me rambling on. I, really am excited for the future of this channel, so I would love it if you would like, subscribe, drop a comment if you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments. I will do my best to answer them. Again, there are going to be the discount codes down in the description of the video. I 100% recommend this product regardless of what kind of experience you're looking for, frankly, because it meets the needs of multiple different customer bases. You know, obviously only if you have an FJ, but also Dasaita has a huge line of products for a ton of different models. So whether or not you have a Tundra, Tacoma, FJ, even brands that aren't Toyota, they've got them. It's an amazing company, amazing customer service. Again, I can't say enough how much I highly recommend them, whichever model of car you're looking for. Just want to say again, I thank everybody who watched this video. Please, let me know how you felt about it. Let me know if there's anything I can improve. I'm fairly new to this, and I want to make sure that my videos are giving you the experience that you guys want. I'm very proud of the install guide I put in here. I feel like I hit every step. If you got any additional questions, throw them in there. But that's all from me again, for me here at abluefj, and I'll see you guys next time on my next video.